تفضل يا شيخ أيمن.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين، ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، اللهم اغفر لنا ولشيخنا ولمشايخه ولوالدينا ولوالديهم وللسامعين. فقال الشيخ العلامة بكر أبو زيد رحمه الله في كتاب حلية طالب العلم Number 15, firmness and confirmation. Adorn yourself with firmness and confirmation, and especially in calamities and serious situations. And from it is patience and firmness upon acquiring and passing long hours in seeking knowledge from the scholars, for whosoever is firm will grow.
نعم، إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا، من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فسبحان الله, yesterday we were saying this. Yesterday, subhanallah, we were saying this. We said, be patient, and this is the key. We said, be patient on seeking ilm, and you will gain a lot of ilm. The most important thing is that you do not stop. You do not stop seeking ilm and cut off. And I remember I said that at the meaning, يعني, that have at the very least one lesson daily. And as time passes by the will of Allah Azza wa Jal, wallahi, by the will of Allah Azza wa Jal, you will be a student of knowledge. And maybe a strong student of knowledge at that. You have time for the Quran and the Sunnah, and you recite, you read some of the Quran, you memorize, this is in your, other than that time for that one lesson. It has to be daily, minimum. Time for the Quran and the Sunnah, and time for one lesson daily. And subhanallah, this occurred more than once. We say something and then afterwards we see the ulama, subhanallah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that this would be from bushra ajil al-mu'min, from the glad tidings of the, in the dunya for the believer. Ameen. I remember, ya akhwa, once I was sitting with our Sheikh Muhammad Hisham al-Tahiri, alone, just him and I, as I remember. And I showed the Sheikh that we made a Telegram channel. I said, Sheikh, because there was something with live lessons and so on. So I said, Sheikh, when it comes to English, lessons and so on, here we have this Telegram channel we made for you. It's an English Telegram. So the Sheikh looked at it. It was like there was like 1,000 or 2,000 subscribers. He said, Allahumma barik. It's 1,000 subscribers or 2,000 subscribers, something like that, the number that was there. He said, 1,000 subscribers? I said, Alhamdulillah, Sheikh, when the earthquake happened, we instantly translated your video. And I told the Sheikh, subhanAllah, we translated it, we put it on the internet, and then, to our surprise, we saw that some channels, they have taken this video, and for example, one account on YouTube had more than 1 million views, and on Instagram has had more than 3 million views. So the Sheikh said, Allahumma la taftinna. The Sheikh said, oh Allah, do not make this a fitna for us. And then he looked at me and said, inshallah, this is from Ajil Bushra al-Mu'min, from the glad tidings that are quickened to the believer. In this dunya. But subhanAllah, I remember this. More than once, that when we say something and then we read it, Imam bin Uthaymeen said it. We say something and then subhanAllah, we see one of the ulama said it the next day or the next thing that we read. Subhanallah. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that it is from Bushra Ajil al-Mu'min. And alhamdulillah, ya akhwa, when you seek ilm from the ulama, from, as the Sheikh said, في الطلب على الأشياخ, from seeking ilm from the ashyakh, the mashayikh, the people of ilm. This is what happens. What you know is from them. It's not like you are studying on your own and you are independent with your own understanding. La. What you have is what the ulama said. Why? Because that's what you have studied. So what you remember is actually what the ulama said. And here, ya akhwa, I take this opportunity to tell you, عليكم ثم عليكم ثم عليكم بالاتباع وإياكم ثم إياكم ثم إياكم بالعجب بالنفس والابتداع. Hold on to, and I repeated it 3 times. Hold on to and make it your way, which is what? Fellowship, following, ittiba'. And I warn you 3 times, stay away from arrogance and ibtida'. طيب, the first thing that comes to my head as we are studying in the English language, and if we actually had the people of ilm in the English language and the scholars and the mashayikh and so on in the English language, then you wouldn't need a nobody like me to be translating and teaching what the people of ilm said. Therefore, the first question that comes to my head, and maybe a lot of you, is we don't have ashyakh. Some people have spoken to me from Norway, for example. Some people have spoken to me from Germany. Some people spoke to me from so many different types of the world. From Spain, from different types of the world, even from Japan. I said, what do? We don't have at our area, or in the West, in general, we don't have in our area mashayikh, not even students of knowledge. What do? I remember I went back to Sheikh Muhammad Hisham. I asked him, I said, Sheikh, so and so is happening. I wanted what? I wanted that the Sheikh makes lessons and maybe I can translate and so on. The Sheikh said what? The Sheikh said they can learn from the internet. And when they want to learn as-samt, how to handle yourself and the behavior and mannerisms and etiquette and so on, he said from the videos. Therefore, ya akhwa, it has never been easier to seek ilm with so much comfort and luxury as we have today. As Sheikh bin Uthaymeen or Ibn Baz, who died maybe before some of you were even born, and you have thousands of lessons that you can just click and you would listen to him speaking at that time and they recorded it. Or you have one of the big ulama of our time, like Sheikh Abdul Muhsin Al-Abbad or Sheikh Salih Al-Suhaimi or Sheikh Sulaiman Al-Ruhaili in Mecca right now teaching. I think Sheikh Abdul Muhsin Al-Abbad stopped. But let's say right now in Medina, afwan, Sheikh Salih Al-Suhaimi or AbdulRazzaq Al-Badr or Sulaiman Al-Ruhaili, they're teaching and you're listening to them live. Alhamdulillah. طيب, what if we don't even speak Arabic? We say, طيب, لا بأس. There is a huge content, as I have on multiple occasions pointed out, that is translated, that you can benefit from. Also, there are books, especially for Al-Allama Salih Al-Fawzan, Ibn Baz, Ibn Uthaymeen, and Salih Al-Fawzan. And also, you have some of the efforts that we try, insha'Allah Azza wa Jal, on this channel to convey what the people of ilm have said. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala the barakah and acceptance, al-qabul. طيب, Al-Imam Ibn Uthaymeen says, this is, in the meaning of which, this is from the most important of the adab, of the etiquettes of the student of knowledge, meaning the student of knowledge. He didn't say, but this is the meaning. Which is التثبت فيما ينقل من الأخبار, which is to confirm the information that is being passed around. والتثبت فيما يصدر منك من الأحكام, and to confirm what you are making of judgments. فالأخبار إذا نقلت فلا بد أن تتثبت أولا هل صحت عمن نقلت عنه إليه أو لا. هل صحت عمن نقلت إليه أو لا. There's a mistake here. The Sheikh says, so when information, news, akhbar, when information are transmitted, then you must confirm first. Are they correct, يعني authentic, from the one يعني who said it? But there's a mistake here. They said from the one who it went to. لا, this is a mistake. عمن نقلت عنه أو لا, not إليه, عنه. So correct that. Underline it and change that. Meaning يعني the one, did he say it or not? Is it correct or not? ثم إذا صحت فلا تحكم بل تثبت في الحكم. And even when it is correct that he said so, then don't judge, don't rule, confirm in the ruling. Because maybe what he has said is built upon an asl which you are ignorant of. So you rule that it is wrong, and in reality it is not wrong. Subhanallah. Briefly, something like this happened to me. Subhanallah. يعني briefly, I mean recently something like this happened to me. And this happens to me more than once, ya akhwa. Yani this happened to me more than once. Sometimes, when we answer questions, we take from the ulama, whether the ones who taught us or the ones who are dead and so on. And when there is something that I do not know, I go and look it up. I look at the videos, at what the ulama said. I ask some of the mashayikh and so on. So subhanallah, we get some brothers that come and they comment. They say what you're saying is a mistake. I heard Sheikh Salih Al-Fawzan said so. طيب, Sheikh ibn Uthaymeen said that which is different. طيب, someone who's more knowledgeable than the two of them put together. Sheikh Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala said what I am saying here. I am saying what he said. So you're coming to me, I heard Sheikh Salih Al-Fawzan saying so. طيب, you heard Sheikh Salih Al-Fawzan. Fine. But this is what Sheikh Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala said. Broaden your horizons. It is, and this is very common, ya ikhwa, with laymen and students of knowledge when they just start out. When they just start out, everything they hear, and notice this by the way, everything they hear has to be the truth, and as if nothing else is also the truth. Of course, we're not talking about aqeed and bid'ah, no, we're talking about things where there are views, for example. So they think everything that someone is saying is incorrect because they read in this book or they heard from this one sheikh. It reached the point, I saw a layman who speaks publicly and he has a lot of followers. He was saying that Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah said so and so, and that in the ulama of this they said so and so. And he quoted something in Arabic and he doesn't speak Arabic. And I read what he quoted in Arabic and it says that this is a riwayah. Meaning what? This is a riwayah. Meaning that this is a saying in the madhab. Meaning that there is another saying in the or the mashhur of the madhab is actually the quite the opposite than this. So this is only a riwayah. And what is commonly known from the madhab is the opposite, right? But he doesn't understand. Allah al-Musta'an. He does not understand. And I was looking, and I was reading, it had more than one of these. Meaning what? This was actually evidence against him because he was heavily and harshly attacking what? Attacking the opposite opinion, the opposite view. So when he quoted, and I just looked at the Arabic, I didn't look at what he was saying because what he was saying, was. I just read the very beginning of it and a lot of mistakes. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us in them. And then when I looked at the Arabic, subhanAllah, I could not help but smile and laugh because it said exactly what? The opposite. This defeats everything you're saying. You're just actually affirmed that this is the common saying in the madhab of so and so, and there are sayings for Imam Malik and Imam so and so that say exactly the opposite of what you're saying, and it's just a riwayah that you are basing what you're saying upon. فسبحانallah, you have to broaden your horizon. You have to broaden your horizon. Therefore, يعني, the ulama say what? The ulama say the more the student of knowledge learns, the more quiet he gets. The quieter, afwan, he gets. Because he realizes there's so much of the ilm that I do not know. There is so much ilm that I do not know. Once he learns, he opens his eyes. He looks at the sea of knowledge that is in front of him. The ulama, ya ikhwa, they say knowledge, ilm, al-ilm al-shar'i, Islamic knowledge, has no end, has no ceiling to it. There isn't an end that you are going to reach and say, I reached the end. The person who says this is ignorant. Therefore, if you, the Salaf al-Salih, they say, if you give your all to Islamic knowledge, you attain a little of it. If you give all of yourself to Islamic knowledge, you gain little of it. This is ilm, ya ikhwa. So once you start out, you think you know. So now this is wrong, that's wrong. How do you say it? Once you start actually learning and you start having some ilm, you realize what? I do not know anything. And then you learn more, and then you realize what? You realize that I have accumulated a good amount, so much. Thus, I realize that this is a drop in the sea. There is so much more. So you become more afraid of Allah Azza wa Jal, more silent. Subhanallah. طيب. Therefore, ya akhwa, when you want even to criticize someone, or you want to correct somebody, confirm first. Confirm. Imagine you go and correct somebody, and then he comes and says, this is what Ibn al-Qayyim said. You know, go refute Ibn, this is what Sheikh Sulaiman al-Hayli said. This is what Al-Allama Al-Albani said. This is what Sheikh Salih Fawzan said. You want to have a ilmi discussion, that's something else. But you just coming saying this is absolutely wrong, and this is this is something else. This is something else. And we always find this, as I said, with laymen and with people who are starting out. طيب. Then Imam Ibn Uthaymeen says, ولكن كيف العلاج في هذه الحال? However, what is the remedy then to this condition? What is the cure? What is the علاج meaning cure, remedy, yeah? Remedy, ترياق. علاج is cure. يعني meaning, what is the solution? طيب. He says the cure أن تتصل بمن نسب إليه الخبر, that you call the one whom it has been said that he said so and so. وتقول نقل عنك كذا وكذا, and you say it has been said that you said so and so. فهل هذا صحيح? You say, is this correct? ثم ناقشه, ثم تناقشه. Then afterwards you discuss it with him. فقد يكون استنكارك ونفور نفسك منه أول وهلة سمعته، لكن لأنك لا تدري ما سبب هذا المنقول، ويقال إذا علم السبب بطل العجب. He says because you holding this in disdain and moving away, and your soul, your nafs, moving away from the first instant of what you have heard, that's because you do not know the reason for this that has been said. And it is said, when the reason is known, the astonishment is no longer there, it's nullified. فإن كان على حق وصواب فترجع إليه. If he was correct and is right, then you retract and you follow that which is the haqq. Put 10 lines under this. Underline this. Put this in a box. Put this in a box. Or that you are right and he take it back, he goes back to the truth. Wallahi ya ikhwa, this is the whole purpose for any discussion or any debate or any argument. And a lot of people, ya ikhwa, I am explaining, a lot of people do not realize this. Why don't you debate so and so? Debate him publicly. Why? For your entertainment? You're bored? You want me to debate so and so? No. We want to have a discussion. Let's discuss in private. I bring you the evidence, you bring me the evidence. But okay, we're gonna bring you so and so, this person, and he will debate you. This person is not looking for the truth. We have seen on multiple occasions that this person is not actually trying to find the evidence, not trying to. Subhanallah, ya ikhwa. I'll tell you a story so that you know. Once I approached a very known da'i. He's not a student of knowledge. Yeah, he studied philosophy and stuff like this. And he is known worldwide. So we have spoken, and we were talking about the issue of the rulers, and spreading their the mistakes of the people, the Kharijites, or the people that have fallen into some of the mistakes of the Kharijites, and so on. Have fallen into some bid'ah, not the way of the Salaf. So, after having a couple of discussions, he said what? He said, I'm gonna take the time to go through the evidences. So this is a good indication, ya akhwa. He says, I'm gonna go through the evidence and so on. I will totally take this into consideration. And then he said, I trust you, so I will take what you have said. Initially, I will take what you have said as true, and I trust your honesty and so on. Therefore, I am upon your aqidah now in this matter. Alhamdulillah. We said Alhamdulillah. And then I started reminding him, asking about him, and then I started reminding him that he looks through the evidence and so on. And then what happened, ya akhwa? Sadly as the usual, they turn their backs, they stop talking to us, they stop replying to our messages, they don't get in touch with us anymore, and then they continue, and sometimes they might even do worse than before, and they continue on. طيب. From such an interaction, sometimes what happens to us is what? We say, Wallah, he doesn't want to. How do you know how to? طيب. We have seen something from them. That's why we're saying they don't want to. It doesn't seem like they are actually looking, for it. That they are actually looking for it, and they want it. Because what is more important than coming and saying, look, I'm upon misguidance, I'm upon bid'ah? طيب, let's sit down. You have the evidence? Yes, I have, from the Quran, the Sunnah, and the sayings of the Sahaba, all authentic. He says, طيب, if this is the case, then let's sit down. Let's take a look. This is the whole reason. This is what piety means. This is the whole reason for us seeking ilm, and when we worship Allah Azza wa Jalla, make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to rectify us. So now somebody on a golden plate has come to you and showed you, here you go. So we need to sit down and look at the evidence. So when somebody turns his back, this is an indication for us. We say, this is not someone who's looking for guidance, or looking to rectify himself, or looking, even if he makes public claims, if I have anything that is wrong, if I have a mistake, correct me. طيب. We try to. But that's an indication that this person is what? Is not seeking that. طيب. Therefore, sometimes somebody comes and says, طيب, debate this person. But for us, it seems like this is just an argument that the Messenger ﷺ commanded us not to have in the deen of Allah Azza wa Jalla. It's just an argument, just a fighting. It's just fighting. So when you see that, there's no point. But when it is done, na'am, showmanship and stuff like this, but when it is done for actually sitting and wanting to know the truth, and this is the goal, that's when you debate somebody or discuss someone, and this is in private. Just you and him, maybe a private sitting, that's it. So the whole goal is what Imam bin Uthaymeen said. You call him, you speak to him. If he's upon the truth, then you follow him, because you're only seeking the truth. If you are upon the truth, then he follows you. Or what's the point, ya akhwa? There's no point then. We're not calling each other to fight. La, there are better ways to spend our time. In the obedience of Allah Azza wa Jalla, and in seeking ilm. And even if we wanted to relax, this is not how we relax. Subhanallah. طيب, and then Imam bin Uthaymeen says, وَالثَّبَاتُ وَالتَّثَبُّتُ شيئان متشابهان لفظا مختلفان معنى. Thabat and tathabbut are two words that are similar in similar words, but they have different meaning. Thabat, perseverance. I am translating. By the way, ya akhwa, a translator, his job is extremely difficult. He has to be knowledgeable. Because even in Arabic, ya ikhwa, sometimes the Sheikh would be sitting and one of the students is reading and something passes by that even the Sheikh himself does not know and he doesn't have to comment on. But what does the translator do? What are you going to do? You have to translate now. You don't know you don't understand the words. Therefore, I say, and this is from my shortcomings, I say you have to prepare. And subhanAllah, I didn't prepare for today's lesson, but you have to prepare before teaching, because you might be on the spot and there are words that you don't know the meaning to. And then when you want to translate, you're going to read it. What do you do now? What I advise, Afwan, is that if something like this happens, or even if you know but you're not sure, look it up, no problem. Look it up. You can easily type on Google Ibn Baz and then what you're looking up. Ibn Uthaymeen and then what you're looking up. Salih al-Fawzan and then what you're looking at. Even if you stop the lesson, no problem. And unless you're gonna take it up at another lesson or so on, no problem. And you'll find this in the books of the people of ilm, especially for example in ulum al-Quran and so on. You will understand, they will say that when they put the conditions for a translator, say how strict they are. How strict they are. And how it requires a lot. More than what a student of knowledge needs otherwise, without having to translate. And I remember once, I called one of the mashayikh for something he said in his own book. He's the author. So I called him in Medina. I got him and said, Sheikh, so and so in your book, you said so. I was preparing for the book. I said, what does it mean? He said, Allah knows best. I do not know. Subhanallah. Subhanallah. So when he's the author and he did not know, because it is something that, he hears from the ulama, he's used to, so he put it. But once you're asked about it, you might stop thinking, I've always thought that I understood this, but if I want to actually explain it and translate it, I do not know. I need to go and look. Subhanallah. And it is not a shame. It is not a shame. Actually, we see some of the mashayikh and some of the ulama, sometimes in the lesson, they are asked something, he says, I do not know. Allah knows best. And then, for example, from the habits of our Sheikh Muhammad Isham, he tells one of the students, he says, this is research on you. Do it. Research it and tell us what is the ruling. طيب. So the Sheikh said, فَالثَّبَات, meaning perseverance, my translation. معناه الصبر, it means patience, the Sheikh says, والمصابرة وألا يمل, and not to be, to be patient, to persevere, and not to get tired or bored. ولا يضجر, and don't get annoyed and bored. ولا يأخذ من كل كتاب نتفة, and that he does not take from one book a teeny tiny bit, a nutfah. أو من كل فن قطعة ثم يترك, or he takes from every field of knowledge just one piece and then he leaves or abandons. لأن هذا يضر الطالب, because this harms the student. ويقطع عليه الأيام بلا فائدة, and it wastes his days without benefit, or cuts his days, makes his days pass without benefit. إذا لم يثبت على شيء, when he does not persevere upon something. تجده مرة في الآجرومية, one time you find him in الآجرومية, ومرة تجده مرة في الآجرومية, you find him once in الآجرومية, ومرة في متن القطر, and once in القطر, meaning قطر الندى وبل الصدى يا أخوان, ومرة في الألفية, and once at the ألفية, meaning of Ibn Malik, وكذلك في المصطلح, and same thing in the مصطلح, مرة في النخبة, he means نخبة الفكر يا أخوان, ومرة في ألفية العراقي, and one time in ألفية العراقي, ويتخبط في الفقه, and you see him in fiqh, he is what? He's making تخبط, he's once here, once there, and he's not steadfast upon him. Once he is in Zad al-Mustaqni, and once he is in Umdat al-Fiqh, and once he is in al-Mughni, and another he is in Sharh al-Muhadhab, and he is moving on from one book to another, وهلم جرة, and so on. وهذا في الغالب لا يحصل علما, and this person mostly does not gain knowledge. ولو حصل علما فإنما يحصل مسائل لا أصول. And even if he acquires knowledge, he acquires some masail, some issues, examples and so on, and not fundamentals. وتحصيل المسائل كالذي يلتقط الجراد واحدة بعد الأخرى. And having knowledge of masail, issues here and there, is like the one who is doing what? Who is taking one, what do you call jarad? يعني one insect, what do you call it? Locust?
Locust.
Huh?
Locust.
Locust, نعم. يعني it takes one locust after the other. It takes one locust and then one locust. لكن التأصيل, however, to be fundamentally يعني principled and well established, والرسوخ والثبات هو الهم, is what is important. Therefore, يا أخوة, I will say something. What do we do in our channel? A lot of people, they ask me, they say, why don't we read this book? Why don't we read that book? And what do I say? I say تأصيل first. تأصيل first. If you have noticed, يا أخوة, the whole purpose of my channel, actually, in a little exceptions, is to do that. Is to have a full schedule that you can go through. And the schedule is, as you can see, the important lessons, and then you move on to the 40 Nawawi hadith with something of the fiqh like Manhaj al-Salikin, and in Aqidah, the 3 fundamental principles, the 4 qawa'id, and the 6 fundamental principles. And I do not recommend the 10 nullifiers of Islam because of what the feedback that we get from some newcomers to the religion, or some starting, yani students of knowledge who are just starting out, even though I did it. And then the book of Tawheed, and then Al-Aqidah al-Wasitiyya, and you take something that is mujmal in the Aqidah, like the Ha'iyya of Ibn Abi Dawood, and the Qawa'id al-Muthla is something that is incredible. And then you move on to Al-Hamawiyya, and then At-Tadmuriyya, and then At-Tahawiyya. And in the fiqh, if you want to move from more than Manhaj al-Salikin, you go to Umdat al-Ahkam, just like we're doing, and then you move on to Bulugh al-Maram, or you choose one of the madhahib, for example, like the Hanbali madhab, and you teach one of its common books, like Zad al-Mustaqni', or like Umdat al-Fiqh for Ibn Qudama, or for or Dalil al-Talib fi Nail al-Matalib, and so on. And in Mustalah al-Hadith, you start with al-Bayquniyya, and then you move on to Nukhbat al-Fikr, and then Nuzhat al-Nadar, the explanation of Nukhbat al-Fikr, and then, for example, al-Ba'ith al-Hathith, and then al-Muqidah for al-Dhahabi, until you reach the Alfiyya, and until you reach the book of Suyuti, Tadrib al-Rawi. And in Usul al-Fiqh, you start with al-Waraqat, or you start with al-Usul min Ilm al-Usul for Imam bin Uthaymeen, and then you move on to something that is higher. And one of the most important books in Usul al-Fiqh is Mukhtasar al-Tahrir. Mukhtasar al-Tahrir and its explanation, Al-Kawkab al-Munir. And so on, ya ikhwa, and so on. In Fara'id al-Rahbiyya. So we have so the goal is, and as I said, the Sheikh said, when it comes to the Arabic language, for example, you start with al-Ajurrumiyya, and then you move on to something else like Qatr al-Nada. And in my opinion, that's difficult. I think maybe to have something like La ilaha illallah, like what is it called? A very known poem, Mulhat al-I'rab. Mulhat al-I'rab, for example, you have before you move on to the Alfiyya or to Qatr al-Nada, and in the ulum of the Quran, and the different, in the tafsir al-Sa'di, and so on. The list goes on, where we can sit here for quite a while and talk about the books that you can move on. And this is what we are doing in our channel. What do you see have we done so far? In al-Qawa'id al-Fiqh, we have taken one thing. That is for a beginner. We are doing exactly that. We are doing exactly that. We are doing the ta'sil. We are doing the ta'sil. Sometimes we take something that is not from the ta'sil and that which is fundamental or canonical, if you want to say, to something else, but mostly it is what we do is fundamental. And this is what Sheikh Muhammad Hisham, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve him, told me. He said the coming 4 years, spend them in ta'sil. And alhamdulillah, this is what I'm doing. And something that is worth noting, especially after sitting with Sheikh Muhammad Hisham last time, especially after sitting with him last time, and يعني speaking to him, alhamdulillah, we are learning. We are still in the beginning of learning. So when I got derailed in some of my explanations, any of my explanations, when I got derailed and started talking about, for example, some individuals, or started talking about something that's going on, and derailing instead of focusing on the ilm itself, this is not hikmah, not wisdom. And if I knew where that is in all my lessons, I would cut them out from every and each lesson. And what I mean by that, for example, like saying there is somebody nowadays who came out and he said this and he said that, and then I reel off and start talking about something that someone has said, instead of actually tackling the main thing, which is ilm, and getting derailed in this way. And alhamdulillah that I realize this now. And alhamdulillah that I am changing my ways and I go back to wisdom and the al-haq when our mashayikh tell us this. Therefore, sometimes I'm getting asked, why did you delete this video and that video? Did you take it back? La, I did not take anything back. However, these are our ulama and our mashayikh. When they show us what wisdom is and where wisdom lies and so on, and what is correct and what is wrong, then depending on the situation and the circumstances and what is the correct way and what is that has more wisdom in it and what is more correct, we go back to what the ulama say. It is not just talk, ya ikhwan. We say the ulama, and then when they speak to us, then we are what? We start shunning them and refusing and trying to find any way to say that we're right. La, we go back. Alhamdulillah. What is meant is the truth and that which is right. And to take what our akabir tell us. We are the sagha'ir. Why don't we listen to the akabir? You understand? Barakallahu fikum. And all of this relates to our lesson today. All of this relates to our lesson today. Because Sheikh Bakr Abu Zayd is saying what? He says, وَطَيُّ السَّاعَاتِ فِي الطَّلَبِ عَلَى الْأَشْيَاخِ فَإِنَّ مَنْ ثَبَتَ نَبَتْ. He says, and to spend the hours in seeking knowledge upon the mashayikh. And ya ikhwa, I say, what is the point from not listening to them if they're going to direct us? So we seek ilm and we seek their directions. And then he says, فَإِنَّ مَنْ ثَبَتَ نَبَتْ. For the one who perseveres, he grows. And perseverance, ya ikhwa, is upon true knowledge and correct knowledge and the way of the Salaf al-Salih. And this is the way of the Salaf al-Salih. So we have to be firm upon it. طيب. Then Imam bin Uthaymeen says, فَكُنْ ثَابِتًا, then be firm. بِالنِّسْبَةِ لِلْكُتُبِ الَّتِي تَقْرَأُ أَوْ تُرَاجِعُ, in regards to the books that you read and you revise. وَثَابِتًا بِالنِّسْبَةِ لِلشِّيُوخِ الَّذِينَ تَتَلَقَّى عَنْهُمْ, and firm in regards to the mashayikh you are taking ilm from. وَلَا تَكُنْ ذَوَّاقًا كُلَّ أُسْبُوعٍ عِنْدَ شَيْخٍ, and do not be according to your taste. Every week you are with one sheikh. وكل شهر عند شيخ, and every month with a sheikh. بل قرر أولا من ستتلقى عنده العلم. However, decide first, who are you going to seek ilm from? ثم إذا قررت ذلك فاثبت. Then when you decide that, be firm. ولا تجعل كل شهر أو كل أسبوع لك شيخ, and don't make a sheikh for you every week or every month. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. This is another thing that we need to point out. The constant asking, what about this sheikh? What about that sheikh? What about this sheikh? What about this person? What about that person? Can I take from this person? Can I take from that person? what do we always say? Did you finish the books of Sheikh Salih Fawzan? No. Did you finish the books of Imam bin Uthaymeen? No. طيب, whom are you studying under? Wallah, I'm studying with you. طيب. Subhanallah. Have you finished the durus? No, I didn't. طيب, why are you asking? You have so much now to do, to get done. You started a book, for example, you started a book, explanation of Sheikh Salih al-Fawzan. Finish it. Continue and finish it. Persevere upon it. Persevere. Seek knowledge. Wallahi ya akhwa, right now, look, I have sought knowledge from Sheikh Muhammad Hisham in person for years, many years. And wallahi, even right now, yani as I concentrate a lot on the books of Imam ibn Uthaymeen, but I'm still daily listening to one lesson for Sheikh Muhammad Hisham, still daily. And I choose the lesson that is most important for me and most beneficial to me. Daily. Man thabata nabat. When you are steadfast, you will grow. When you are steadfast, you will grow. When you persevere, you will grow. And this is exactly what we're saying. One lesson daily, you will grow, ya ikhwan. When you have one lesson daily, at the very least, a week from now, a year from now, you will grow. You will have attained so much more knowledge. And dedicate days as well. Maybe we forgot to mention this. Dedicate days for revision as well. طيب. Especially on weekends and so on holidays. And then Imam bin Uthaymeen says, وَلَا فَرْقَ بين أن تجعل لك شيخا في الفقه وتستمر معه في الفقه وشيخا آخر في النحو تستمر معه في النحو وشيخا آخر في العقيدة والتوحيد وتستمر معه. He says, and there is no difference between making one sheikh for you in fiqh and one sheikh for you in nahu and one sheikh for you in aqidah, and you continue with them. المهم أن تستمر. What is important is that you continue, not that you go from one to another. Like a man who always divorces. Every time he marries a woman, he sits with her seven days and then he divorces her. And then he goes and asks for somebody else. So he remains all the dahr, all of his life, did not enjoy his wife. And he does not have children mostly. And confirming is one of the most important things, if it is not the most important. So confirming what has been transmitted from others is a significant matter. Because the people who tell you what he told, the people who narrate, the mediators, sometimes they have bad intentions. Wallahi ya akhwa, this happens. And I have seen this with my eyes. Allah al-Musta'an. But the Sheikh says what? The Sheikh says sometimes they have bad intentions. They would transmit that which distorts the image of the person they are talking about intentionally. They do that. And sometimes they don't have a bad intention, the Sheikh says. However, they understand what is being said in contradiction to what is intended by it. Therefore, one must confirm. فإذا ثبت بالسند ما نقل فحينئذ يناقش صاحب الكلام. So when it is affirmed that he has said it, then the one who said it is يناقش, is discussed. Before you make the judgment, whether it is wrong or not wrong, discuss with him first. Because maybe by discussing with him, what it would turn out to you that what is wrong is what he said. For it is known that if a person judges something just by hearing from the first moment, from the first instant, then he would report things about the ulama which are considered to be lighthouses for ilm that would repel people from them. However, when he confirms and he contemplates and he calls this sheikh, then the matter would be cleared out for him. Therefore, the author said, ومنه الصبر والثبات في التلقي وطي الساعات. يعني what our dear brother Sheikh Ayman has read. This is from being firm and from. And then the Sheikh says, and the one who is not firm, he does not grow and does not gain anything. طيب, before we move on to Nahu, what I said today, and I have said this also before, but it is more clear to me now. It is a lot more clear to me now, and new things have become clear to me. And inshallah Azza wa Jal, after speaking to our Sheikh, and him showing me what is the hikmah, and showing me what is correct and what is wrong, and so on, then what I have just said is me publicly saying this. So take it from me that I am publicly telling you that this way is not the hikmah, is wrong, the way is wrong, and therefore alhamdulillah we try to rectify ourselves and better ourselves, and inshallah Azza wa Jal make our way more correct and more righteous. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us from those who they hear the qawl, what is said, and they follow, يتبعون أحسنه, they follow that which is best of it. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, نسأل الله عز وجل أن يرينا الحق حقا ويرزقنا اتباعه ويرينا الباطل باطلا ويرزقنا اجتنابه. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to show us the haqq, the truth, and grant us following it, and shows us falsehood and grants us staying away from it. And now we will move on inshaAllah Azza wa Jal to An-Nahu inshaAllah. Completely understood the brother said. نعم. So I am publicly retracting. I'm publicly saying my mistake and fixing it. Alhamdulillah.